Welcome to Mama Tales, a podcast on our collective motherhood journey. I'm your host, Sally Kuria. For as long as I can remember, a woman has always been asked to be strong, to persevere, to keep pushing. A lot of the things that we go through on a normal day-to-day basis is painful. I remember my first period cramps. The pain started a few months after I first got my period at 13. It felt like someone was cutting through my stomach, and when I raised it up, I was told it's just part of the process, that I should persevere, and I did. When I felt like it was too bad, I took a painkiller, but every time I would do that, I'd feel like a failure or a coward for just not accepting the pain. The story we are going to be listening to today and next week is about this pain, but not just this pain, but rather a woman's healing journey as she tries to find her place in this world. Here's a bit of what's coming up.
It was difficult. It was so tough because I kept imagining there's probably a 15-year-old out there who's imagining where his mother is. So I kept judging myself. I kept thinking like I'm the worst person on this planet. And I never extended myself grace, just thinking that I was young. I was in no place or position to be a mother at 16. So I've learned to forgive myself, but I guess that's how I grew up, just imagining, that there is that person out there.
A quick announcement before we get into today's episode. As you listen to Elsie's story, please remember that we'll be having an event on the 26th of March with Elsie and Dr. Charles Moteshi. He is an endometriosis and fertility specialist. And we're going to take this session to dive deeper into Elsie's story and the effects of endometriosis on women. 1 out of 10 women suffer from this disease, and a lot of us have been conditioned to ignore the pain. So if you feel like this space is something that you need, please come join us, come with a friend or two. Let's learn from those brave enough to share their story with us and find support in community. It is free to enter, but you do need to register ahead of time to help us plan better. You can find details on how you can do that in the show notes of this episode. See you then. Like a lot of us, Elsie had a lot of dolls growing up. She would pretend that they were babies and she would enjoy taking care of them. This nurturing feeling also grew when her little brother came along. She knew that she would want to be a mom one day, but not anytime soon. She wanted to go through the normal societal script, go to school, get her degree, get a job, be successful in her career, get married, enjoy marital bliss for a while before she becomes a mom. But things did not go that way.
Interestingly, I got pregnant when I was 16. And so that was like a pause, moment. I was like, okay, this was not the plan. And unfortunately, collectively with my parents, we made a very difficult decision to, I hate using this word like terminating the pregnancy, but I feel like that's what it was. Like it was just ending it. But for me, it was, they induced the delivery. And so I gave birth. So I experienced that. And I was 16, So I think whenever I think about it now, I'm just like, wow, I went through that. First, I think just my cervix was not even ready.
Oh my God.
I remember like the doctors and nurses they were just running around like they were looking like they were just panicking because, for 3 days, like experiencing just the contractions and everything. And, the child was moving, yes, but it was not coming soon enough. So after 3 days, it happened. I think I packed there for a long time. I really was living in a bowl of shame and guilt. Like just imagining that I had made the worst decision. I kept thinking, this child is probably somewhere out there because, I think I carried the pregnancy up to about 8 months. And I knew, in my mind, I kept telling myself this story that, they probably gave away the child for adoption or, they took it to a children's home or something. I just told myself a story. So in my mind, so I kept telling myself my son is out there. And I was so rebellious. I was so angry with my mom, like I was just, just again projecting that shame and that, that fear of feeling unloved and like a disappointment to my mother and father at such a young age. I'm supposed to be doing other things, but here I was. But I think I had to deal and work on that. But I guess, we can talk about that later. But it was difficult. It was so tough because I kept imagining there's like probably like a 15-year-old out there who's imagining where his mother is. So I kept judging myself. I kept thinking like I'm the worst person on this planet. And I never extended myself grace, just thinking that I was young. I was in no place or position to be a mother at 16. So I've learned to forgive myself, but I guess that's how I grew up, just imagining, that there is that person out there. And then the other thing was also, of course, I loved seeing my friends, get married and then get pregnant and then have babies. But it was just, I used to be the one crying. Like, you would think, like, I don't know, it's like my child. And I would always hold those children and live almost vicariously through them. Like, just always desiring that, that motherhood. And so I got married. So I got married quite later on in my life. Like, I got married when I was 38. So I think the thing that I did was just focus now on building my career, right? I tried to go to, I went to uni. I thought, I thought I was going to find like my Prince Charming and, my husband there. Because, don't we all like, we find like, we marry like either like our college sweethearts or something like that. So I think that's a dream that I was trying to live out. But again, it never happened. And I think I need to explain something, right? So in terms of why it didn't happen. So imagine this 16-year-old me, because I'm a 23-year-old, in campus or living life and trying to progress, as it were, but I'm still packed at 16. So I'm a 23-year-old on the outside and on paper, but on the inside, I am a 16-year-old just trying to defend my turf. So I was trying very hard to achieve that dream, right? To get married, to get a boyfriend. I loved this dude that I ended up dating, I really did. And I wanted to get pregnant. But unfortunately, I was having now complications. And now the complications were, I was experiencing very painful periods. Very, like, debilitating. And just like that pain that you feel like you're being crucified, And for me, because like, I think while I was growing up, or even when I started my periods when I was like about 15, around there, my mom had told me like, it's normal, girls in our family have gone through this, so it's okay, you'll be fine when you get pregnant. Yeah. So again, the goal is let's get pregnant so that we solve this issue.
Yeah.
But, again, it wasn't happening. And then also just, again, because I'm also young, like in my career, I'm still not, I'm not financially secure. Neither is my boyfriend. And here I am, we're trying to have this conversation of, we need to have family and stuff like that. So one time I was just like, I was so exhausted. I was tired of my painful periods. I was like, I must get to the bottom of this. So that's when I went and saw a gynecologist, and I was like, in fact, I remember, I think that was like my first visit ever to a gynecologist. I'd never been to a gynecologist for my 26 years in life. And I went to see him, and, he just, he listened to me describe my symptoms, etc. I was there with my boyfriend. And then that's when he told me, he's like, you have endometriosis. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. And he's like, the easiest way he could describe it to me is that my uterus was growing inside out. And immediately, I remember just like He landed like some, messages like, just one after the other. You need to get pregnant now or you'll never be able to have children later on in life. And so I'm like, I'm under pressure now. I'm like thinking, hey, this big goal of mine of having a child, of being a mother, is now being accelerated because of this other issue. So now I was in a quagmire. The dude doesn't want that story. He's not ready. Me, I'm ready. He's not ready. I'm like, we must do this now. So I am putting someone else under undue pressure because they've not realized also, like, or this is not a priority for them. Yeah, but I blamed him. I was like, and I attached it to now his love for me. I used it to define whether he loves me or not, because you don't want to, you don't want me to be a mother. It's like, so you don't love me.
Yeah.
I was like, what is at stake? I can't give birth because of this disease. It seems like it's, and I did not understand endometriosis then the way I do now. And I understand now where the doctor was coming from. But then I didn't understand. So I was like, hey, we're under pressure. We must do this now. So anyway, that relationship ended. So then again, I just focused on my career. Just focused on just trying to do the one thing that I could, that was within my control. And then just grow. And so I had my first surgery now to deal with endometriosis now when I was 26, after the doctor gave me the diagnosis. And, I thought I was going to solve the issue. Then, after that, oh my God, it would be a smooth sail, no more painful periods. We went back to one because I was put on, it's almost like a birth control mechanism, but it's like a hormone suppressant, if you may. So, just silencing the ovaries for a few months so that they stop producing the estrogen, so that the endometriosis stops growing. I think, let me just land a fact. Endometriosis has no known cause, no known cure. So it's like the gynecologist then, I think, was just trying. So it's a hit or miss,
like trying to manage it.
Let's just try and manage what, and that's the word. It's managing endometriosis. But so that didn't happen. So I was like, okay, so we're back to periods. So I carried the pain again. That was part of my identity. I knew pain was going to be a part of my life. And again, looking back, 16, going through that trauma, that amount of pain, I'm not dealing with it. I'm not processing it. So I'm just carrying it nicely too. But then inside, I have such a deep, strong desire to be a mom, but it's not happening. It's not materializing. Yeah. So I'm getting more frustrated, resenting myself, unforgiving, So I didn't date for a while. I was just like, maybe I kept judging myself. I'm like, yeah, I'm not wanted, maybe people can see what I did. Yeah. There's nowhere, there's no label on my face about the things that I have done or, the misdirections and the missteps that I have made in life. No one can see that. But I really, I carried it. I wore it like a crown so proudly. And I was like, I'm this girl who's this and that and the other. And so I really believe it slowed down even my desire for getting into a relationship. I wanted kids. I did. But I'm like, but no, if I can't be with someone, then, I don't want to do it alone. But then the older I was getting, I was like, an understanding, endometriosis and the disease and what it was doing to me, I was like, their chances were just getting slimmer, by the day. And of course, the older we get, as women, our ovarian count is just dropping. Yeah. I really love, I wish I was a dude. Sometimes I think I wish I was a dude. These guys have sperm until the day they die.
They don't have pressure.
There's
nothing.
Sperm until the day they die. right?
They're good.
Like until even they're 90.
Yes.
They still have sperm.
Yeah.
Viable concept.
Mm.
But chicks, it starts diminishing, I think, when we are about 28. From that level upwards,
Yeah.
it starts diminishing. And for me, the more surgeries I was going in for, because all the surgeries that I went in for were treating or removing ovarian cysts that were growing around the ovaries. And so what that would mean is that when they would go in, they would harvest a part of like my eggs, my ovarian reserve. And now I understand where that doctor was coming from. Remember when he was telling me like, yeah, you need to get pregnant today? That was where he was coming from, because he knew that there is no procedure that is safe to preserve the ovaries. So therefore, any woman who is suffering with endometriosis, the first conversation you should have and your priority should be around your fertility, preserving your fertility. So it's asking yourself, if I'm 28, do I want to have children in the future? Do I understand the impact of the surgery? Like, what's that going to do to me, to my body, to my ovarian reserve? And therefore, it means considering things like harvesting your eggs for use later, for if you want like assisted pregnancies, which are there, and those are options for everyone. So that's where I was. Imagine I'm getting to like 35. I'm already thinking about all these options. I'm thinking about, okay, I'll adopt, it's fine. I was aware of what my body was going through. And so I think by the time I was getting to then, 37, this dude comes into my life. I was like, let's just date. And, we dated for a very brief period and we got married. And, again, the marriage didn't last as long. And we weren't able to have any children, because even before we got married, I got a definitive diagnosis that I had a very, very small chance of conceiving naturally, because like my AMH levels were low and stuff like that.
Yeah. And did he know about?
Yeah, he did. We went for the test together. He also went for his test to check his viability, and he was good. He was pretty good. So I think we were optimistic, but cautiously optimistic. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, hey,
yeah,
that's good. So we had conversation around, okay, what happens to us? Are we going to be that couple that doesn't have kids? And if we don't, is that okay? It's okay. But later on, I think, in marriage, again, looking at my friends, again, who are getting married at the same time, they were getting married, getting pregnant. Now that started doing a number on me. Hey, you think you've dealt, or you're aware. It's one thing to be aware, but there's another thing. It's another thing to have addressed it, or even acknowledged it, and then addressed it.
Yeah.
And that's where now therapy comes in. I hadn't done that. Like, I hadn't processed. Now everything came tumbling down. Marriage for me was the worst place to be reminded of I'm feeling my eyes are hot.
It's okay.
I felt like that was the worst time to ever be reminded of my, like, the cap on my motherhood journey. Like, I was like, the end. Like, it will not happen.
And were you feeling this from yourself or from your husband?
It was just myself.
It was you.
It was me. There was nothing he ever verbalized to me, my ex-husband. There was nothing he ever verbalized to me to say, like, I want children. and if you can't have children, I'm not gonna be with you for the, blah blah blah. Nothing. There was nothing. Or he's not pleased. Nothing. There was nothing. Whether he felt it and never communicated, I never got to know. Right? And I will never know. But it was an internal conversation.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I tore myself to pieces. I started linking. And of course, because again, I've been talking about my journey with endometriosis. I've been on public platforms, shared and stuff like that. So my content is out there. So this one day, I think I went to see another recording, I think on YouTube. I think I can't remember which media house it was. And there was a dude who was just there, and he was like, this woman is suffering because she had an abortion.
Is it talking about you or somebody else?
Talking about me.
Wow.
And I was like, the misinformation out there about endometriosis, the myths and misinformation that is out there. So we are judging as a society women who are struggling with their fertility and already deciding that they actually had abortions. We don't have proof. But yet that was the truth for me, because I terminated a pregnancy. And I'm like, but how did you see me? How did you know?
Yeah.
This is a complete stranger. It's a troll, of course.
Yeah.
But can you imagine what now that did to me? Oh my God. I went into the pits of hell, and I just said, God, you're punishing me. And the endometriosis is punishment. Unfortunately, the fact is that endometriosis, the women who suffer with endometriosis first are 1 in 10. So 1 in 10 women around the world. So into a total of, we're looking at about 200 million women around the world who suffer with this condition. And 30% of the 200 million, actually, their fertility is affected. Yeah. So 30%. It's a very small population, but it's a significant number.
Yeah.
One woman who can conceive surely is enough. We should be able to find a solution. We don't have that information. There is a lot of misinformation. We don't understand that endometriosis is what is contributing to some women's, not all women with endometriosis, but their fertility. And their infertilities. So, I'm like, but someone is out there just making that careless statement, without thinking or even just bothering to read and understand this disease. And so I just buried myself in judgment, and of course, now my marriage ended, and not because of this, but that's when now I decided, I was like, okay, I think I have to, let's face the beast. There's an elephant in the room. And at the time, I thought it was just, just going for therapy just to handle the divorce story. And I entered, then of course, the therapist always tells you, spiel.
Just
give me everything.
Yeah.
Just lay it on the table for me. And so I talk and I share. And the first day, she is like, Elsie, do you know you are grieving? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah. I'm grieving the loss of my marriage. She's like, no, you've suffered so much loss. The loss of your child. And then the fourth and final surgery for endometriosis, I lost my ovaries.
Wow.
So again, it's now just putting a cap on every chance I ever thought that I would ever be a mother.
Next week, we pick up Elsie's story from here. I want to thank Elsie Wandera for sharing this very vulnerable story with us. She is a founder of Endometriosis Foundation of Kenya and has been doing incredible work in bringing attention to this disease. Remember that you are invited for a sit down with her and Dr. Charles Moteshi. He is an endometriosis and fertility expert based at Aga Khan Hospital to talk more about the realities of this condition. Like I shared earlier, this will be happening on the 26th of March at 5 p.m. Entry is absolutely free, but you need to RSVP. Details are in the show notes of this episode. Do you have a story you'd like to share with us? Tell me about it. I am currently recording stories. So if you have something that you think has really impacted your parenting journey, let me know about it. Fill out our story submission form in the show notes of the episode. Remember, your story is powerful. Before I go, let me remind you that you can show support to the space by sharing an episode or two that you really loved with a friend, or by offering monetary support. Your support will go a really, really long way in helping me get these episodes to you for free every single Tuesday. Remember to catch up with us on our socials. That's at Mama Tales Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, as well as signing up to our newsletter. All of this is linked in the show notes of this episode or on our website, that's mamatalespodcast.com. All right, see you next week. Bye.